Okay, Shkoyach, for the sponsor tonight, there should be the Neshama. In this week's Parshas Sisa, the Torah talks about Shabbos. But I want to speak about an interesting ha'ara the Mefarshim discuss, that if you look in the previous Parshas and upcoming Parshas, there seems to be a shift in the placement of Shabbos in the Mishkan. So if you look in Parshas Truma, Tzava, we've been learning about the Mishkan, and then comes this week's Parshas Sisa, and we talk about Shabbos. But in next week's Parshas V'Yakel, when Moshe Rabbeinu talks about Shabbos, he switches the order. He first talks about Shabbos right away, Sheshis Yomim Tava, Shabbos Shabbosai, and then he switches to the Mishkan. So all the Mefarshim want to know, why is this order reversed? The beginning we start with Mishkan, and then leading to Shabbos, and then we switch Shabbos to Mishkan. So all the Mefarshim point out that there's one thing that happened in between, and that is the Chet HaEgel. And based on that, we'll understand the difference of the order. So there's one interesting mahalach I'll share from the Meshech Chochmah. The Meshech Chochmah, or Meir Simcha, explains halacha l'maisa. He wants to suggest. He says that before the Chet HaEgel, the Shechina was everywhere. Shechina was everywhere. In the fact that we build a special place, a Mishkan for Hashem, a special makom to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, was not to create a makom and only in that makom the Shechina will reside. The Shechina was everywhere. The makom and the building of the Shechina was an extra avodah. Therefore, he says that if it was an avodah is doicha Shabbos. Doing avodah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doicha Shabbos. Like we know, bringing korbanos and avodah in the Beis HaMikdash is doicha Shabbos. So he says originally, even the building of the Beis HaMikdash, building of the Mishkan, was an avodah. Therefore, because you already had Shechina everywhere, it's just an extra way to connect HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So even the building of the Mishkan was considered avodah. Therefore, Mishkan came first before Shabbos because it overrides Shabbos. Whereas after the Chet HaEgel, therefore the Mishkan became the place where the Shechina would reside. Therefore, the building of the Mishkan was not itself an avodah. It was a heichatimsa. It was just a way to create the makom where the Shechina could reside. Therefore, Shabbos was stronger, and therefore, the building of the Mishkan was not able to override Shabbos. That's what the Meshech Chochmah says. However, the problem is that Rashi says not like that. Rashi in this week's parsha, right, where it talks about the Parshas Sisa, Shabbos after the Mishkan, Rashi says, where it says, why does it tell you about Shabbos? So Rashi says that even though you're so busy with the Mishkan, Shabbos al titcha mipanad. Don't let it override Shabbos. So you see, the Rashi says clearly, not like the Meshech Chochmah. So I want to share a different mahalach. There's an interesting mahalach from the Beis HaLevi. And the Beis HaLevi says a very interesting thing. He gives a mashal. He says, he says if someone's about to make a chasana for their son, and there's a lot of expenses that go together with a chasana, and there's a lot of things which are necessities. You got to pay the caterer, you got to pay for the hall, you got to pay for their clothing, but there's a lot of things which are extras. You want to buy the son a nice watch, something extra, something fancy. And he says that when the father gives these presents to their son, they could do it in two ways. They could either start with the necessities and then give the extras, or they could give the extras and then give the necessities. And he says the order you give something shows where it's coming from. He says if you first give the necessities, you're showing you're doing what you have to. But if you first give the extras, it shows that it's coming from a place of ava, showing the place that you really want to just show your son how much love you have to him. You want to give him the extras even before the bare minimum. So he says something interesting. He says in mitzvahs, we have a similar thing. There's certain things which are necessities when it comes to mitzvahs. You have to do it. Shabbos is a necessity. Sheshis Yomim, Tava v'Shabbos, Shabbos is a day of rest. That's a necessity. Ki oisi beini v'neichem. It's a day to bring our ois, this connection between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Like the Chafetz Chaim used to say a mashal, that a person falls off a mitzvah or two, okay? But once he decides to leave Shabbos, that's like putting, for stores closed on the wall. That's the day that really connects us with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's our constant bris to show that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is running the world. So Shabbos is a necessity. But the Mishkan, the Beis HaMikdash, it's not a necessity. We're still living without it. It's an extra connection towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Tosefes Kedusha. So he says like this to Beis HaLevi. He says that before the Chet HaEgel, what did Hashem tell us first? The Mishkan. He wanted to first give us the extra Ava and Chiba, give us this opportunity to connect to Him in this special makam of the Mishkan. And then, only later, He told us about the necessity of Shabbos. But after the Chet HaEgel, there was some friction in the relationship between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Therefore, went the opposite, that first He starts with the necessities of Shabbos and then leads to the Mishkan. Interesting mahalach. One other mahalach I saw from the Pri Tzaddik, Reb Tzaddik, he quotes an interesting Gemara. The Gemara in Shabbos, on Daf Samach Tes, the Gemara talks about what happens if a person is stuck, stranded in a desert. And he doesn't know what day it is. He doesn't know if it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Shabbos. What are you supposed to do? So it's a machlokes in the Gemara. One man, the Amar says, count 6 days, and then keep Shabbos. The other man, the Amar says, no, first keep Shabbos, and then count your six days. So Reb Tzaddik explains that what's going on in the Gemara is really a deeper concept. It's not just a practical thing, you count 6 days and then Shabbos, or Shabbos and then 6 days. He says really the shaila is, what leads to what? Does the 6 days of the week lead up towards building the climax of a Shabbos Kodesh? Or does Shabbos Kodesh infuse into the weekday what everything's going to be? So he says, an interesting thing. He says, really the truth is they're both true. And he quotes the Gemara. The Gemara tells us on Shabbos, Daf Kuf Ches, the Malu Shomer Yisrael Beish Shabbosais, Miyad Hayu Negolim. If Klal Yisrael would have kept both 2 Shabbosim, all of Klal Yisrael would keep 2 Shabboses, would be redeemed right away. He says, what's this concept of 2 Shabbosim? So he explains the concept is both aspects of Shabbos. One is that you have the Sheshis Yomim, preparation of a proper week leading into Achana, that you're ready to accept the Shabbos, Kedusha of Shabbos. And 2, you have a Shabbos which infuses in the weekday all the brachos. And that's why it's brought down, these 2 Shabbosim, this is the concept of Shtei Shabboses. I heard once, some Sefer, I heard once said that each tefillah or each suda of Shabbos has a special segula to help the different parts of the week. I think he says like Friday night is masugul towards Sunday and Monday, and Shabbos morning is masugul till Tuesday, Wednesday, and Shabbos afternoon is Thursday, Friday. So end of your week, you have like a hard week. Maybe you had like a shtickle shvat shalashudis. The end of Shabbos was a little rough. Then the end of your week is a little rough. Okay, but that's the concept that the ideal situation is that Shabbos, you should have a Shabbos leading into the week and also the weekday preparing up toward Shabbos. So he says like this, he says that before we did the Chet HaEgel, when we were in the deal situation, the Shechina was with us with a certain Chavivas, then Mishkan had a sense of Kedusha, and it lended itself to bring us to this high level to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Shabbos. Whereas after the Chet HaEgel, we needed the Shabbos to infuse us to get through the weekday. We needed the first to start with the Shabbos. So there's an interesting discussion in the Mefarshim as you see that this concept of the shift, that originally it was Truma Tetzaveh, talking about the Mishkan, and then Shabbos. And then after the Chet HaEgel, it goes this shift and first talks about Shabbos leading into the Mishkan. So we saw different mahalchim. We said the Meshech Chochmah says that there's a halacha lamaisa, that originally it was doicha Shabbos and then it changed to not being. We said Rashi said not like that, and we explained the mahalach of the Beis Halevi, that it shows that Ava, originally HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the extras before the necessities. And then we said from the Pri Tzaddik, the difference between is Shabbos giving over towards the weekday, or is the weekday preparing for this climax of Shabbos. Just to end with one interesting idea I heard once from the Chassam Sofer. Chassam Sofer says an interesting concept about why the Torah says after the Mishkan, be careful with Shabbos. So Chassam Sofer says, interesting to hear, it says, some people live with a mission in life. This is their mission, whatever it is. They want to, save children. They want to, help animals in Africa. Whatever their mission is in life. But the avodah that's their mission. They feel this is their tafkid in life, and nothing else is so important. They want to do their tafkid, and that's it. So he says that the people building the Mishkan could have thought like that. This is my avodah. I'm here in this world to build the Mishkan. I have to do it no matter what, day, night, Shabbos, no Shabbos. This is my avodah. Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to tell us that even if you have this amazing mission and you're coming to accomplish big things and bring Kedusha to the world, build the Mishkan, but you can't forget about the basics, and you have to remember to keep the Shabbos. Because as much as it's important to have this mission and you find your sipuk towards doing things, you have to remember that our first mission ultimately is to follow the Torah and to be proper Abdei Hashem. So we all should be zoiche to have the connection to Shabbos, mechazek our Shabbos. I just wanted to end with interesting words that the Mishnah Berurah says. This Shabbos we know is Parsha Para, and there's an interesting diak that Ramatziyo Solomon used to say over every Shabbos Para. He says if you look at the lashon of the Mishnah Berurah, he doesn't tell you where it's quoting from. The stam lashon of the Mishnah Berurah, he doesn't tell you it comes from the Levush a lot of times. And the Mishnah Berurah says that by Parshas Shkolim, Parshas Zachar, a lot of these things that we do nowadays, even if they're not relevant, this is Zeicher. We commemorate what they used to bring Shkolim. They used to do this, they used to do that. But when it comes to Parsha Para, he says an interesting thing. He says it's a tefillah. It's a tefillah. The Kriyas HaTorah, Parshas Zachar, this is the Mishnah Berurah, says it's a special tefillah that we daven HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that he should be zoyrek on us, the Eifer of the Para Aduma to be Metaras, and with that we shall all be Zoicha to go spend together Shabbos in Yerushalayim, and ultimately the Korban Pesach in the Beis HaMikdash B'Kara.